What's going on, guys? It's your man DJ Steph Floss here with episode 8 of my Friends of the Program podcast. Yes, another quarantine podcast. I think today is I'm not really counting, but I think today is like day 50 or so of me being, quarantined, just like us all, well, just like we all should be. So, this is my therapeutic way of dealing with the program, of dealing with the quarantine, calling my friends and talking with them and letting you get to know my friends a little better. Today, I have an amazing friend, an amazing guest. Her name is Sidnee Michelle. She's a celebrity journalist, a celebrity reporter. She's doing some amazing things out there. And, let's get right to it. I don't want to, hold you guys. Hopefully, I don't have any problems with this calling today. Oh, yeah. Very smooth, very smooth.
Hello.
Okay, Sidnee, there we go. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We back? Are you ready?
Yeah, we are back. For everyone tuning in right now, we had a little technical difficulties the first time I called Sidnee. I was on, you know what? I was actually stealing the neighbor's Wi-Fi. I didn't mean to. I have my own Wi-Fi, but for some reason, their Wi-Fi was hooked up to mine, so that connection was pretty bad. And I was definitely ready to blame it on you. But anyway, how are you? How you doing over there?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Just trying to keep myself entertained and make it through this as best as possible. How you holding up?
I'm great. Dealing with this quarantine, maintaining like us all. So are you quarantining in New York right now, or where are you at?
So I was in New York to start. Funny story, and then I ended up having a influencer's trip to Antigua, which
You're so
almost
fancy.
got canceled. It was literally like when coronavirus hit, that's exactly when our trip was. And it didn't go as planned, but we ended up going there and making a bunch of great content for Women's History Month.
Nice.
So from there, instead of flying back to New York City, I actually flew to North Carolina to wait this thing out with my mom. So that's where I'm here now with mom and keeping each other company, trying not to drive each other crazy.
Okay, so you're with mom. You're taking care of mom. It's not like a bunch of you guys. You're not doing like quarantine radio, and you're not having like a bunch of friends over there partying and drink. Okay, all right.
No, it's fun as that seems. The most party we have over here is some wine and the Babyface and Teddy Riley versus battle. So that's as fun as we get over here.
Well, that's a good time.
But yeah, it's a good time. It's not as fun as quarantine radio, but it's a good time.
Well, you and your mom, you're over there. You said you're sipping on wine. You're doing the Teddy Riley Babyface thing. This is what I like to do to start off my the program. I like to do like a little icebreaker, get to know you and, just ask a couple questions, like 5 questions, very, very random questions. So don't laugh at them, just answer them. And then we'll get all into, letting the world know and my world know more about Sidnee Michelle. All right. First off, who is your favorite couple on 90 Day Fiance? Excuse me.
Oh man!
So you
don't
do watch?
Hate me.
You do watch it, right? Oh,
I
no.
don't.
Oh
I don't
God!
watch. But my best friend is a fanatic, and she's been trying to get me into it. And I think it's like her favorite is this really big white guy,
Big Ed.
and yeah, I don't know his name, but she always talks about him, and I think he dates I don't know, but that's. She always talks
Asian.
about him, and she sent me pictures. So what's his name?
His name is Ed. Does he have disgusting, slick, long black hair?
Yes, slick to the back, has really a couple double chins.
Oh,
yeah, that's him.
That's actually my favorite. That's my favorite couple as well. Shout out to Big Ed and Rose. It's something.
Shout out to Big Ed, and I actually saw a picture of him on Twitter from the '90s, and he was actually kind of good looking, and I'm just okay, I see you. I see you. Had a little throwback Thursday picture. I wasn't too mad at it. So.
Shout out to Big
Hopefully he finds love.
Yeah, I know, because Rose, by the way, everyone fronts on Big Ed, but Rose is she's kind of trash. But, I'm not here to, disrespect anybody. But, let's stop disrespecting Big Ed, guys. I mean, Rose had that man sleeping in the projects, Well, but all right, that's neither here nor there. What's your favorite album to listen to on a long drive?
On a long drive, I think. Well,
Well, first of all,
probably
long
would
drive
be
is different for you because you live in New York. So on a
yeah.
on a decent drive.
But yeah, driving anywhere. I think it would probably be let's say Good Kid, Mad City.
Okay, classic album.
Yes, because when I was learning to drive, I had that CD in my car rotation, and I literally would just listen to it while I was practicing, and it just stuck in my head. And to this date, I think it's Kendrick's best album, so I will have to go with that one.
Well, I mean, your family, your mom's in North Carolina right now. I could call you a New Yorker, right?
Yeah.
I mean, can I call?
Absolutely,
All right,
absolutely.
you're a New Yorker, right? So
Yeah,
you're
my
one.
dad. Yeah, we're from Brooklyn.
You're one of the few New Yorkers that I know that actually know how to drive. So kudos to you. Yo, do you put?
The jokes never stop. But
Never.
you know what?
Kudos to you.
If you learn how to drive in New York, you can drive anywhere.
Yeah, you guys are so egocentric. You think everything is just so much better in New York. It's like, all right, you can drive anywhere. You can drive anywhere. Anyway, sugar and grits. Do you put sugar and grits or salt and butter and grits?
I do a little bit of both, actually.
What are you talking about? That is disgusting.
Yeah, I know.
Both
I know
at the same
get
time?
killed from this. I know, especially for my down south people. But yeah, I like that salty sweet mix. That's like my thing.
You are disgusting. I didn't know this. Oh my God. All right, what's one thing that you regret not doing as a child? Like when you remember when you're like 8, 10 years old or something like that. What's one thing that you regret not doing? It doesn't have to be very serious. You don't have to be like, I regret not winning a Nobel Peace Prize, but anything that you regret not doing as a child.
Yeah. I regret not sticking with the violin because I used to play the violin. In my elementary school, you had to either you had to do something, an activity. So had to play a sport or play an instrument. So I picked up the violin and I was really, really good. And I wish I would have kept with that because, like grown violin players who can play, like hip hop tunes, they're very like hot and it's a hot commodity.
Yeah. Shout out to Violin Bay.
Right. Shout out to Violin Bay. And she's so beautiful and amazing. And I just watch her in awe and I'm like, damn, that could have been me.
You're good. By the way, shout out to Violin Bay. I met Violin Bay at this day party. What's that spot out? You're in Brooklyn. They never had like hip hop shows there until Drake had his day party there, and I actually had the pleasure of being one of the DJs on that thing. It's like Brooklyn. It's huge. No, it's huge. You know what what is it called? It's like a big rave club, but it's outside. And it just got popping.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's Brooklyn Mirage.
Brooklyn Mirage. So yeah. I met Violin Bay at the Brooklyn Mirage. So shout out to Violin Bay. I saw her.
Shout out to her. She's amazing.
I had one of those wax celebrity moments where I was looking like, hold on, I know you from somewhere. Who is? I'm like, oh, that's Violin Bay. So we got to talk, and she was pretty cool. So but you're doing fine in your own right. Trust me, you're doing fine. If you had to choose between a condo, last one. If you had to choose between a condo and a house, what would it be? Excuse me.
I would say that's a tough one because I'm not like a huge house person. Eventually when I'm big rich, I don't need a double mansion, but a mini mansion with like. I'm big on outside, so I love to be outside, like on balconies, on rooftops, and backyards.
Oh, yes, I love it. I love
outside. So I think if the condo had an outside area, I totally would do that, and definitely a house, because they usually always come with backyards. But let's say a house for all intents and purposes.
You said all of that, bigging up a condo just to say house. No, your answer is definitely condo.
I know, but it's so funny because I'm always like, I don't know. like I would love to live in a condo, but it's just like I need that outside aspect. Like I don't need a huge house. Like I just need something for my family, for me to be comfortable in.
Right.
But I need that outside aspect, and sometimes condos don't have that. So.
Very true, very true. I feel the same way about you. I love condos, but it's like as you get older, you start, and then it's peer pressure. People are like, you need a house, you want a family, you got a house, and I'm like, yeah, but like,
Yeah.
can't I just get a bankroll enough to where I could just have the biggest condo and the dopest condo? But it
Right.
is,
Exactly.
it is what it. But it's peer pressure to get houses. So I like to tell everyone, that's tuning in how I met my friends of this program. So basically, I don't even know if you remember this. So someone booked me to DJ a random party in New York on like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. And the reason was because I was flying to New York City. I was traveling with the Cavs, and they had a game against the Knicks. And I ended up DJing this party. Party was crazy dope. It was at some random place. But I guess that night I was DJing was you guys' body roll party. That
Yeah.
same night. It was like some very random. So at the time I had knew Raven. Me and Raven were cool, but then that night, and then of course Kayla. I had knew Kayla from Game 7, and then I met you that night. I met my girl Ramya. Shout out to Ramya, love Ramya to death. And I met so many other like dope women that are still in my life tonight. Today.
Yeah.
That night at that party. So that's where you probably don't
Yeah.
even. Do you remember that? Tell the truth.
No, of course I remember that. I
Okay.
remember that too. I remember that very vividly, actually. For those who don't know, Body Roll is a party that my big sister Kayla and Mel and Annie, shout out to them. They created.
Oh yeah,
this
shout out
as,
to
like,
Mel. I love Mel.
Yeah, shout out
Mel
to
took
Mel.
me on
Shout out
tour.
to Annie,
She took me
shout
on
out
tour.
to Kay. And they're all three amazing women who work in music. Literally, I think Mel's with Tidal now.
Tidal. Yeah, she's with Tidal.
Yeah, Annie's with Mass Appeal, and Kay is over there at Capital.
Capital.
And they are all amazing women who work in the industry, but still value a good time and really like-minded work industry people coming together and just really having a good time. Like no, stush stuff, and no one's, has an ego or anything. Everyone just comes and lets their hair down and have a good time. So that's kind of how Body Roll started. And then I came on and just to help with like the promotion and getting the word out to my, my fan base and my friends in New York City. And it really just became a movement where people like I said, like-minded people in the industry, and it's literally like celebs,
such a dope party.
Influencers, regular New York people. Everyone literally came together, and it was no, like judgment or anything like that. Sometimes, we would look down on phones and stuff just so everyone can have a good time.
As you should.
And it just became a great movement, and we ended up doing it twice a month for a long time. And then everybody, Kayla, Mel, and Annie ended up moving out to LA. So we did our first one in LA for Kayla's 30th birthday. So it's a good time, man. And I'm so glad that you were able to come and rock with us and DJ. We love having like friends that are DJs at Spin. So like between you, Miss Nix, a bunch of other people, we really love it. And again, thank you for holding it down. That was a great night. That was when we first started too.
I remember that. Yeah,
I can't even remember where it was.
I remember it was definitely in the winter because I remember Ramya had on and Raven had on like these super long like mink coats. It was just like it was very very extra, but it was so dope. And I was like, yo, this party is like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Packed full of women,
time.
Cool people, everybody's dancing and all of that. So that's how we met. And now today you're this amazing celebrity journalist and reporter. You're definitely doing your thing. I keep up with you, even if you don't think I am. I just saw the press junket, the most recent one that you did. But give the people a little of your background. You're a graduate of HU. Which HU is that? Is that the real HU, which is Hampton University,
come on.
or how?
No, not that at all. Not that at all.
Excuse
I
me.
mean, there's only one HU. There's the HI, but there's only one HU, and
Okay.
that is the illustrious Howard University. Shout out to Howard. Graduated, had a journalism degree, broadcast journalism degree. I interned my senior year in college with the Source for about 2 years. Ended up becoming a on-screen personality for the Source. While I was there, I was able to knock out a currency interview. Speaking of 420 today, that was we did a
Wow.
420 interview. Yeah, we did a 420
shout out to
interview, and that
Currency.
was like one of my that was one of my first big ones. So shout out to Currency, shout out to Spitter on that.
Did you smoke with him
And
though? Did you
literally just
smoke with him while you were doing the interview?
see, it's so funny because
Cause you
I
did.
literally just posted this. I posted this to my story, and where it's like, I'm a big advocate for marijuana and cannabis, and within regulation and everything. So I was interviewing him, and he went to extend the J to me, and before I went to accept it, I turned around and looked over my shoulder, and there was my boss just staring at me
And
like,
this
you
was
better
before
not.
this was
So,
before all of this stuff. This was before it's been like
yes,
regulated and things like that.
yes, this is when it was a little more looked down upon. So I looked over at my boss, and he's looking at me, and he's like, Sidnee, you better not. And I'm like, damn, this is currency though. This is currency. That's like turning down a J from Wiz Khalifa.
Right,
Like,
it's the
was
same thing. It's the exact
it
same
was
thing.
right. These are like the godfathers of just the weed culture and weed and music culture. So I didn't, unfortunately, at that time, but he did slip me a J of his line, his brand and his line of weed that I was able to enjoy later. So definitely shout out to Currency for
Shout out
that.
to Currency.
Shout out to Currency. But yeah, so from the Source, I went to Forbes, and I started there as a editorial assistant. And then my senior editor, Zach Greenberg, who's an amazing entertainment journalist, he kind of checked me out, checked out my resume, checked out my history at the Source, and just being in the culture. And he's like, hey, do you want to start reporting for the entertainment sector here at Forbes? And I was like, heck yeah, I want to do
Oh,
that.
nice.
So I kind of had to split my duties between being an editorial assistant to the CEO at that time and being a journalist. But there I was able to become the first woman of color and Black woman to report on camera there ever, which is crazy if you think about it, because it's crazy if you think about it. I mean, I'm very proud of myself for crossing that off my list and breaking down those barriers. But it was in 2016, and it's crazy to me that I look back and think that they've never had a Black woman or woman of color on camera there before me, reporting about our culture and our music and our entertainment. So
have they had some since?
Yes, since then,
Okay, all right,
I was
perfect.
able to, yes, definitely. I was able to I was there for almost 2 years, and I was able to kind of diversify the face, especially of the entertainment and music verticals, which I was very proud of.
That's dope of you.
But yeah, from there, where'd I go? Okay, from there, I was offered a anchoring position at Complex, and they were starting a new entertainment and business mixed vertical called Complex Hustle, and that's basically where we dove into the ins and outs of the business of the entertainment industry. So I was kind of able to use my Forbes background with business and music and business and entertainment and bring that to Complex. And there we, would interview Diddy, when he had a new campaign, or when LeBron James did a collaboration with whoever. We would interview like the designer and LeBron and kind of get like the back end of the business story. So that was cool. I ended up staying at Complex for almost a year. And then I left Complex, and I've been freelancing ever since. I like to call it working for myself because I hate the word freelancing. But I would like to say that I've been working for myself, and honestly, Forbes and Complex and even The Source taught me so much, and I learned and I gained so much, and I'm very thankful to those establishments for, you know, all the lessons that I've learned. But working for myself / freelancing, I have been able to secure some of the biggest interviews outside of those big powerhouses. So it's been a journey, but it's definitely been an uphill journey. You know, just trying to find my place in this world and in the media game. And like I said, I was just able to leverage those relationships to, you know, interview 50 Cent and interview The Rock and interview Eddie Murphy.
Now you're getting interviewed. You see how that works?
Yes. Now I'm getting interviewed, and it's kind of like weird for me. I just got off the phone yesterday with a reporter from Essence who wants to do a story. I mean, it's just so weird because it's like I talk to people about themselves, about their accomplishments and everything they got going on, and it's like weird for me sometimes to talk about myself. Like even with you, it's kind of a little bit more natural because I know you and
right.
You know, we're not.
That's the point of this. That's the point of this.
Right, exactly. So, you know, you're the homie, so it's easy for me to talk about these things. But just with people I don't know, it's like, I'm always like, oh, I don't want to come off too, like, you know, it's just kind of nerve-wracking because I'm used to talking and asking people about their lives, and I'm very comfortable with that. Like, I'm very comfortable with talking to people. People usually open up to me, especially when I'm sitting in front of them. You know, like these legends, Eddie Murphy, The Rock, like I said, 50 Cent. I always kind of get smiles and warmth and everything out of them. And I enjoy doing that. I enjoy telling stories. I enjoy telling people stories, but telling my own, I'm like,
well, you're doing a great job so far, and you're doing a great job with what you're doing in journalism and reporting. What I like most about what you said is basically you've paved the way for more women of color for yourself at Forbes. So not for anything else. At the end of the day, you will have left your legacy with Forbes in some shape, form, or fashion. So that is amazing. So congratulations, and that's very dope if you're doing that. Now, as far as journalism, I know, you know, when it comes to, you know, people, you know, formulating what they want to do for a career, it's usually around like high school or maybe their freshman year in college. When did you decide you wanted to be a journalist, or was this something that you were watching when you were like mad young and, you know, watched like the Today Show, or how did this come about? Right. You know, and were you born in Brooklyn?
I grew up in Brooklyn. I'm from Jersey, but we grew up in Brooklyn. My dad's entire side of the family is from Brooklyn. Every holiday, Christmas, summer, that's where we were in Bed-Stuy. So shout out to Brooklyn.
Young girl in Brooklyn. How do you get into journalism, and at what age did you decide, you know, that's what I want to talk to people and get to know people more? Yeah,
well, I think, growing up, it's funny because I'm down here with my mom, and we were just talking about that. They would have like the Today Show on every morning, and then at night we would watch, you know, Brian Williams, or we would watch like BET News just to get some of like our cultural news and see black faces. So shout out to my parents for definitely putting me on that early, and I've always said like, you know, I would love to. I always was a storyteller, so it's like my friends would come to me like for, you know, different stories about, you know, that I would watch on the news and things like that. So when I got to high school, the public high school in the area that I lived in wasn't the best. So my parents sent me to a Catholic school, but this was a more diverse Catholic school, not too diverse, but more diverse than one would think. So there, I just, you know, joined with a lot of the other African American and people of color, and we launched our own African American group, African American Club, and I was like the vice president. And from there,
hold on. I'm sorry. Was it called African American Club? Please don't say yes.
It was.
Y'all couldn't think of. Hold on. Y'all could. Y'all,
It's
all,
it,
all
no,
of that brain
we
work.
have to make it align.
Oh my, all of that brain power in there, and the
I
names that y'all
know.
came up with, the African
Listen,
American Club.
I'm trying to tell you, every idea that we came up with, mind you, don't forget we went to a Catholic school. So every idea we came up with, we legit had nuns that were in power. Like our principal was our nun, a vice principal was a nun. There were sisters. So we went to Sister Donna. We're like, yo, can we name the club this? Nope. Oh, can we name the club this? Nope. They're like, oh, so we literally had nothing else. So we looked at the other club. They had Asian American Club and Hispanic American Club. So we were like, you know what? We're going to have to be African American
African
Club
American
because
Club.
sis is not messing with us. She really
Oh
was not
man.
messing with us. Yeah. So that wasn't by choice. Trust me. But so from there, we noticed. My friend and I noticed that we, like the art club and the sports club, they all had these newsletters and like tangible editorial pieces that, you could trace back to the club that people part of the club can take home. They could show their parents. They can do this and that. So we launched a newsletter called Silk Portrait, the first ever entertainment and arts newsletter in our school. And that's kind of where I really found my calling. And I'm like, there's no reason why, we have all these amazing, still in high school, but still like super talented photographers, writers, like fashion designers. And we literally opened up our newsletter to anyone in the creative space who wanted just to get their designs out there or just wanted something tangible that they could take home and show their parents or show their friends. So we launched it, and it was called Silk Portrait. And it was dope. We had, like literally photographers would put their pictures in our newsletter, and designers would put pictures of their designs. And then we had people in poetry write, things about the African American or of color experience within a Catholic high school, which at that
Oh,
time
nice.
it was a little rough because Obama was running for president and first term, and we really went through it as a
Oh,
people there.
right.
Yeah, so
I
that
can
was
only
like our
imagine.
outlet. Yeah, that was our outlet, and in a space where we didn't have any sort of outlet. So that was kind of like my first calling, I guess.
So
And
shout out
then from
to the
there,
African American Club.
to the African American Club. And from there, I went on to Howard and just got involved in like the fashion and entertainment scene there and the newspaper and things like that. And that's kind of how it like kicked off for me, I think I would say.
So you mentioned the Today Show. So who's on the? Is that the show Gayle is on? I get my morning shows mixed up. There's Today. There's Good Morning America, and then you got your local.
Yeah,
Which one
I
is
can't
Gayle?
even tell you honestly because I try not to watch mainstream stuff anymore. Like I
Oh
like to watch
God.
I know it started me off, but it's just like
No,
the
I understand.
politics
No,
of
I
that
know.
show is. But
It's
don't get me wrong, I would definitely put like if I had a child or like a young girl coming up, I would definitely have them. You got to have all different aspects. That's why I
right.
said like shout out to my parents. They had me watching the Today Show, but they also would have me watch BET Nightly News. So
Right.
it was a variation of both, but yeah, those big morning shows kind of like just captured me. And then they would have the artists come and perform, so that would like intrigue my music interest. So
Well,
yeah, that's
I asked about that because I had a question I wanted to ask you about Gayle, and this is
mhm.
because I haven't really been able to speak with anyone that's in the journalism or the reporting field about this as
Right,
of yet. So we all know
right.
Gayle did the interview with R. Kelly, and that
It's so lovely.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
yeah. First R. Kelly, and it went crazy. Like the black community,
Okay. Right.
that's totally against R. Kelly. They loved it. So Gayle was like
Right.
on 10. For us,
Right.
she was like on 10. Then she came and
Yeah.
did the interview with Lisa Leslie like right after
Right.
the passing of Kobe Bryant, and the questions that
Right.
were aired that she asked and all of that. And then like a lot of people were like, "Yo, you're bugging. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? Why would you do this?" Now, I'm a
Yeah.
civilian. You're not. As a
Mhm.
journalist, as a reporter, where do you stand
Mhm.
on how she handled that interview and our reaction for people that are not journalists? How do you feel about our reactions towards how that was portrayed to us?
Yeah, well, I have mixed feelings, I would say. And again, I think Gail is an amazing woman. But to be honest, she's a personality. She doesn't have any type of
Okay.
training or a degree in journalism or anything like that. She's a personality. She's Oprah's best friend. Doesn't take away from what she does. I think she's an amazing personality, and people like talking to her. They feel comfortable with opening up and talking to her. So definitely shout out to Gail. I definitely can never take anything away from her.
Right.
However, that interview, I'm not going to say she was wrong in asking those questions, but as a journalist, you have to be very attentive to the times
Right.
and the timing of things. So yes, this is an interview that was right after the passing of Kobe Bryant, and she, you know, very rightfully has to tell. As a journalist, you can't omit certain things just because they're not so pleasant. So
Okay.
again, there was a point in Kobe Bryant's life that he did go through that scandal, and whatever the outcome was, you know, he made it through it. Now, I think that the way some of the questions, the way they were propositioned, and the way she asked it in a time that people are so sensitive because this amazing man just untimely had an untimely death,
Right.
I do think it was slightly insensitive. And again, I'm not saying she's wrong for asking those questions, but the timing mixed with how she said it
Yeah.
was insensitive.
Yo, it was so.
So that's
I remember seeing the. I saw the clip and I was like, "Yo, what the? Like, why would she do that? Like for
yeah,
that whole day. Then the next day, I'm like, yo, she was bugging. And then
yeah,
I saw her interview, and I was like, yo, she's still bugging, but she was like, they released a certain point, a part of it. So I was like, well,
exactly,
let me give her the benefit
exactly,
of, let me go and look. Then I saw it again, and I was
right.
like, nah, she was bugging. She didn't have to really, like,
Yeah.
even
I
like,
mean, again, I don't, right. I don't think she had any ill intention.
right, right.
I've known that, you know, both Kobe Bryant has spoken with Oprah, and he's done things with Oprah. So I know you know, she probably knew him. I don't think she had ill intentions. I don't think she was trying to smear his reputation or his legacy. I don't think any of that, because at the end of the day, that's the black woman. And
Right.
as black women, we recognize when we have strong, amazing, powerful black men such as Kobe. And Kobe was a legend, and he was amazing, and he was literally, you know, in the aspects of black fathers and black husbands. He was a decent example of that, minus the scandal, clearly.
Yes, he
But
was.
yeah, he was a good guy, and he from the people that knew him and the people that would speak with him, they always said they got good energy. They always said they felt positive about his person, and so that's what I'm saying. Again, as a journalist, you can't omit certain things because
Right.
it's unpleasant to talk about. However, at a time where such an iconic person in our culture has just passed, you have to be very careful in what you ask and how you ask it. So
Now,
I think she did fail in those two aspects, but for her to receive the hate and the death threats and
oh,
all that she
that was
received
wild.
was completely ridiculous.
It was so.
Completely ridiculous.
I think
And
everybody
I
was just
love Snoop.
reacting
I
off
love
emotion.
Uncle Snoop. I know. I know. It's so much emotion
It was
tied
so
into Kobe
emotional.
Bryant's passing.
It's so
Yeah, and
much
it's like
emotion.
even me, like I love Kobe Bryant. I played basketball coming up, and I was even mad at her. I'm like, come on, sis. Like, now you knew better
Right,
than
right,
to
right,
say
right.
this way or to bring this up in such a sensitive time. But you
Yeah, it
know,
was.
she for her to receive the crazy backlash that she did, and I'm glad we've all loved Uncle Snoop. I'm glad, so glad he apologized. And I'm glad that people, you know, came around to apologize, to really like not try and get this woman out of here. And you know, I do. It's just a tough situation, man, because it's like on one side you see her hurt, you how it affected Oprah and everyone. But on the flip side, you also can see how something like that, especially on national TV, can affect Kobe Bryant's children and
his wife,
and things
yeah, and
like
family
that.
members and
Right,
things. Yeah.
exactly. In such a sensitive time. So again, do I think she had ill will? Do I think she was trying to tarnish the legacy of this man? Not at all. Do I think she was insensitive and it was bad timing? I do.
Very much so. Now, I'm not saying this is the case with Gayle and Kobe, but have you ever had to um, interview someone, or not even just be around, but have you ever had to interview someone that you may not have already had such a positive opinion on, or basically every interview that you've went in so far has been like pretty good, like you've liked the person on some level?
Yeah, it was one. I'm not going to say who because we come around to have an understanding.
So how do you balance that? How do you balance your opinion on that person, and
Right.
like with actual facts or doing your job well, and
Right.
people seeing that there's no issue right there? Because
Yeah,
sometimes
you
people, you can
kind of
see
just have.
stuff written all over people's faces.
Right, and that's with it, especially on the on-camera journalist, which is a majority of where my work lies. You have to, one, have a poker face, and two, you have to take your bias out of it. So, said rapper, I was set to interview. I had heard that he always has an attitude and he's always late. So we're on set, ready for him. Sure enough, 2-3 hours go by, still not there.
Wow.
My producer, my lead producer, texts me and she's like, Sidnee, leave. Like, we don't wait. Like, especially this is a time I was at Complex too. They're like, we're not waiting past da da da. And I'm just like, damn. Like, I really wanted to have this great interview with him to prove these things, these ideas that people have of him wrong.
Right. Total
But sure enough,
misconceptions.
right. And prove is the misconception, but unfortunately it wasn't. So as we're leaving, as my camera crew is packing up, he comes in, and of course it's Complex, so he wants to look. He's like, nah, like, y'all just stay, just wait until I finish smoking my J's, and then we can start. And I said, sir, you are 3 hours late. And my producer just told me to get out of there now. So I'm trying to do this thing with you, but there's no way I'm waiting 30 to 45 minutes for you to roll up, smoke,
Right.
get yourself together. So his team asked if he can smoke on camera. And usually it's fine with Complex that you can smoke on camera. But this was for a branded content piece.
Right.
Branded content means it's with another brand, not just Complex, and they will run this on their mediums. And
all right, give us an example.
Company,
give us an example of what you mean for people who don't know.
Yeah, like a Complex and Pepsi, or a Complex and Mountain Dew, or
Okay.
a Complex and like Foot Locker, something like that.
Okay, cool.
That's a branded content piece. So not only will Complex run this footage, but these other companies will. Now, these other companies are not as liberal as Complex is. So, sir, no, you cannot
Right.
on camera. So, it was a whole problem for that. Whole problem. But you know what? Eventually, we got through the interview. He's from D.C. I dropped the whole Howard bomb, and that kind of brought the interview back to good standing.
See,
so
you're good. You know what you're doing.
What you're given, taking lemons and making lemonade. But as annoyed as I was, I knew, I'm like, Sidnee, keep your poker face. Like, just as you're tired, they don't got no food on set. Like,
have you had to have you had to interview him again?
I have not, but I saw him at an event and he dapped me up, and it's all good. It's all cool. I continue to hear this idea about him, unfortunately, but all that matters is we are cool now, and maybe down the line, maybe we can tell this story together, and I'll be able to really tell him how I felt.
Maybe y'all,
But
maybe y'all could do that on the next candid interview that you have
yes,
with them.
on
That'd
the
be
next
dope.
show, I will, between you and I'll text you and I'll let you know who he is. And when you get him on the show, then I'll call him like, hey, you remember you really made my life some hell that
Oh,
day? Like,
oh my God, that would be amazing. Now,
yeah, yeah. But
backtracking what you did with Forbes as the first woman of color. Is it woman of color, or were you the first African American woman? Because there is,
both. Well, both.
okay,
Well,
you were
first
both.
black women and woman of color, period, to report on camera.
All right, so backtracking to that, how do you think what do you think of the representation of women of color in today's like journalist and reporter world?
Yeah, well, I definitely think today, as in 2020, it's a lot more of us, and I'm glad to see that. I mean, I remember a time where I would look on like E News and like all the pop culture news outlets, programs on TV, and I always used to say like I never would see someone that even looks slightly like me on those TV programs, and now you have like
Do you remember Aisha
gossip.
Tyler? Remember Aisha? I just remember Aisha
Yes, I
Tyler from
remember
being on
her.
E News. What was it called? Talk Soup or something like that?
Yeah, I remember her, and that's what I'm saying. As time went on, you started to see more. You have Sib, who's on E. You have Miss Gossip
Nina.
Girl.
You know
Yes,
what? I'm gonna
you
get
have.
Nina on here. I think she's gonna be my next guest. I love Nina. She's amazing.
Yes, please
Like
do. She is
she.
amazing, and for her and Sib and everyone to kind of infiltrate that whole E News program, where I remember, like in high school, we didn't see not one black face.
Right.
Um, and then you have people like AJ Calloway, who literally went from like 106 in Park, being one of the best hosts on 106 in Park, to Acts of Hollywood.
Right.
He's also a Howard grad, so I was really happy to see him on like Channel 7 and big daytime news entertainment programs. So I'm definitely happy with the progression that the industry has made in terms of seeing more faces like us. What I would like to see more is I would just like to see more of that, and I would like to see more of it on, you know, more conservative programs. I love Angela Rye, and I love seeing her on
Love
CNN and
Angela.
MSNBC. I love Joy Reid, who's on MSNBC and platforms like that. I just think that we have so much talent, and we really know the culture and know the ins and outs of it because we've been through it. So I honestly would respect and relate to and understand a perspective of a woman of color, no matter what race you are, because you know that they've been through at least 25% of what they're talking about. They're not just bringing it from a history book or a fact check or anything like that. Like, they've actually been through it and have experienced that. So I'd much rather hear those type of stories and experiences straight from the horse's mouth.
And in this same arena, speaking of journalists and reporters, how do you feel? Because I see a lot of people who have journalism degrees and who are journalists, who are reporters, and they make comments on things like this. How do you feel about a situation like this with influencers popping up now? And influencing is such a big thing, but now influencers are getting a lot of these journalist gigs and these reporting gigs that that people with the actual degrees and things aren't really getting. Like, someone not. I've just throw myself out there instead of throwing somebody else out there. But I don't have a field in journalism. But I may, because of whatever reason, they may have me interview such and such for this company, as opposed to having like you per se. Does that, like,
Right.
do you see this happening, and how do you feel about that when you see it happen, or it doesn't matter?
Yeah, well, I definitely see it happening, and I think I'm 50-50 on this. Is on the flip side, again, if it makes sense, I think that I'm not against it. Like, Steph, you've worked with the Cavs and literally have such a great influence in like the sports media world.
Right.
I would totally watch an interview with you interviewing LeBron or so. I would totally watch that.
Right,
But
right.
then on the flip side, I think I read a story a few months back about this influencer that they hired at a radio station to do like their main interviews. And part of journalism, especially when you're trained in it, you automatically do research. It's kind of like a second thought to you. Like you don't
Right.
wait to the day of. It's like, okay,
Excuse me.
boom, I have my subject, I have my beat. Like already, my head is going crazy with different things I could research about them. That is not the most normal thing. So I think I heard a story a few months back about this influencer that they had interviewed Meg The Stallion, and
Oh yeah, I know what you're
just
talking
being
about. Yeah.
just being a Meg The Stallion fan, I already kind of followed up before this interview, just being a fan, and I actually think I had to do a piece on her. I just followed up just with initial research to find out, not only did her mom pass away, and long story short, the influencer radio host or whatever you want to call it, asked Meg how her mom feels about her success. Now,
Right.
one, she didn't know that Meg's mom just had passed away, so
And by the
that
way,
was
you should know that. Like, if you're in this
right.
industry, like she at the time, it
Absolutely.
wasn't like she wasn't anybody. She was very popular, not as popular as
Yes.
right now because every day she gets bigger. But she had
Yes.
a Big Old Freak was out and all that. She was a big
Right.
deal,
Right.
and the
Right.
passing of her mother was a thing. People were talking about it. Like
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah, and just someone. I mean, that just comes with like that's what I'm saying. Like I think it's something that's embedded in us as journalists, and I know a bunch of journalists who feel the same way. Like as soon as we get a topic, whether we have to write about it that day or a month from now, like we're instantly researching and like jotting little things down. Like okay. So this, the influencer they had interviewing her, not only did she not know that her mom had just passed away, which is super insensitive. She also should have known that her mom was an artist in her own respect, and that's where Meg
right.
The Stallion got a lot of her influence from, and a lot of her confidence, and a lot of her motivation from, because her mom was an artist as well, and her mom definitely had some hits on the radio. I don't think she was as big as Meg is now, and I know she's in heaven shining on her and helping that cause, but again, this is something that we would have known
Right.
if, the right person had the job. So
I didn't know
to
that,
answer
by
your
the way.
question,
So that's why you're good at
yeah,
your job. I had no idea her mother was
yeah, she definitely was an artist. She was a songwriter. She helped Meg with her early hits,
wow.
all that type of stuff. So,
Have you interviewed Meg
you
yet?
know, I haven't,
Uh-oh,
but
here
she's
we
on
go.
the
We got to
list.
make it happen. We got to make it happen.
Yes, she's on the list, and I really would love to talk to her because I just love, her spirit and how she just embraces herself and just a wild and free spirit, but she's still smart. She's a very intelligent woman, and she is all about self-confidence and being natural. I just love her. But anyway, so back to your question, it's 50-50 for me. I feel like it has to make sense. If you're going to hire an influencer who may be popular but doesn't really have her foot on the pulse of culture, you may run into things like this.
Or his foot.
As
Or his
opposed
foot.
to, or right, you may run into instances like that where they're not prepared, they don't know, or they just really don't have their ear to the street. Now, on the flip side, if it was someone like you, Steph, who, a highly intelligent man, but who also has been in the industry and
Right.
who also has been around, these sports figures, and you probably know them personally, and a lot, that totally makes sense. Totally.
Right.
So I think I would have to be 50-50 split on that.
Yeah, I like what you said. I think when it comes to things like that, I think you have to, like you said, you have to choose the right person. Like I would do, I would just keep it simple, like we're doing with you, or with someone I have a relationship with like sports figures or hip hop artists or
Right.
anything like that. But like, I wouldn't be necessarily so comfortable interviewing, your governor Cuomo or something like that. Like that
Right.
would be like,
Right.
why would you have me interviewing him
Right.
because I have a
Yeah.
bunch of followers. You know what I'm saying? So I see a lot of that happening, and some of the
Yeah.
interviews and reports are like they're cringeworthy. I'm like, yo, why? Like I know she's
Yeah.
popping,
Yeah.
and or he's popping, and but like, come on now, like I don't want to see this. No one wants to see this. Hire somebody that can, really get the job done. So we we
Right.
we, we
Right.
kind of have the same
So
opinion on that.
right. I just urge people just to do their research and really like, those people who have that hiring power to really just look at somebody's track record, look at how long they've been in the industry. Like, did they just pop up on IG with 100,000 followers like 2 months ago? Oh, okay, no. Maybe someone with a smaller following count has been working in the industry, has these contacts, knows these
Right.
things. Maybe we should hire her to get a better quality interview that still may honestly do the same amount of numbers as to someone with a high follower count who this interview may go viral because they fuck up.
Right. Very, very much
Yeah.
so. Now, speaking, you haven't done Megan Thee Stallion, but if you had to, without, no one's gonna get mad at you. So you can say your favorite person you've interviewed thus far. Who has it been? I mean, I've seen you've done Currency. I love the picture with you and was that Eddie Murphy that I'm thinking about right here in
That
offhand?
was.
Oh, I love like that's. I love that picture. You've done Diddy. You've done 50 Cent. Like, who is your favorite interviewer? Person you interviewed thus far.
Yeah, I think it would have to be. Well, I have two. My best interview was with The Rock, Dwayne Rock Johnson.
What's the difference
And
between best and like best as opposed to favorite?
Yeah.
Why best?
Yeah. So my favorite best because we had a really good conversation, and this was when there were rumors. Well, he came on. We did a press junket for his movie, and he broke the news to me that he was lightly considering a presidential run at the time.
Oh,
so
wow.
that interview kind of went viral a little bit, and we talked about that, and we really got into I think the movie was Baywatch at the time, but we really got into, he was part of the music production for that movie, and he was telling me, just how important he really wanted the music to be to this movie, just because the music is closer to him. And Biggie was on that soundtrack, Diddy was on that soundtrack. I think they had I can't remember who the other one was, but it was some people on that soundtrack, and he really got into it with me about how he wanted to be a part of doing the score for that movie, and I really appreciated that because I was a huge WWF fan.
Oh, wow.
I had the Rock posters in my locker. Me, my dad, and
You're
my
lying.
brother. My
You're
dad,
lying.
my brother, and I.
You are lying.
No,
you didn't have the Rock
my
posters
dad, my
in your
brother,
locker.
and I literally used to sit down. That used to be one of our rituals. We would sit down and watch. This is pre WWE. This is
no, I noticed you said WWF.
Yes.
I heard the F, so I
that's what I said. WWF.
I kind of want to believe you.
Yes, no, we used to literally sit down, just the three of us. That was kind of like our dad activity, and we would literally watch WWE. WWF. I think it came on every Thursday. We would literally sit down and watch it, and watch it all night. So I was a huge The Rock fan, and it's just his humility as a person, Steph, is so amazing. Wow. He is this massive figure in our culture. No matter who you are, white, black, blue, or green, you usually know who The Rock is, whether that's from wrestling, whether that's from movies, Fast and Furious. Literally, you by seeing him, you know who he is. And when he came in, you can compare this to my prior story. He was 15 minutes late as opposed to 3 hours, and he came in so apologetic. He came in asking, does anybody need anything? What can I do? I'm so sorry. It was LA traffic. Literally was the sweetest, most apologetic person for being 15 minutes late. 15.
That's
And
amazing.
I'm used to people being late. Like, I'm used to celebrities being late all the time. He was 15 minutes late and just came in so apologetic and so humble. And that's why I think that was my best interview. Now,
Okay,
my
now
favorite
favorite.
interview, it was also the same day as Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy's an icon, and I love speaking with him. He was very cool, calm, and collected, which was a cool, surprisingly, it was a cool thing about him because, you know, you just expect Eddie Murphy to just be off the wall and off the
Right,
chain.
right,
But
right.
he was very calm, and we got tidbits of him acting up a little bit. So that was great. But my favorite interview, it was that same day, was with Mike Epps and Wesley Snipes.
Oh wow, dual interview.
And yeah,
Wait, and for what?
they
Wait,
were
what was Mike Epps and hold on? Let me think if I could think. Mike Epps and Wesley
yes.
Snipes. What
It was a
movie?
Netflix movie. It was a
Okay,
Netflix
all right,
movie.
all right.
Yeah, but it was Dolomite. It was Dolomite. The story
Okay.
of Dolomite. Yes,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
that
You're
story.
right.
Yeah,
No,
and it was
that's a
a
good
great
show.
movie.
No, it is. It
Yeah,
is.
it was a good movie. It definitely got some
It was more comedic.
NAACP awards.
It was more
Yes,
comedic
but
than I thought it was going to be. So it was
right,
great. I liked it.
right. Yeah, and Eddie Murphy did an amazing job. He was one of the producers on the film, and it got some NAACP Image Awards. It got a few awards and nominations. But yes, so Eddie was by himself. I got some time with him, and then Wesley and Mike Epps, they were paired together, and just sitting down with them, it was my favorite because I laughed the entire interview. Like, it's Mike Epps was already one of my favorite comedians, like after Bernie Mac, R.I.P. But
RP.
oh my goodness, I was crying, like about to cry my eyelash off, Steph. Like,
It
it
was
was
like
really
that.
bad. I'm just like, y'all, I have to get through this interview, but they are just cracking so much jokes with me, with each other. Like, it was the funniest thing, and it really meant a lot to me because a lot of the times these comedians are funny on screen, are funny, but just sitting down, they're not too funny.
So does
The
this still live on the
Mike,
internet? Can we still see this right
it
now?
is.
All right, perfect.
You can see it. You can go to my YouTube page, and then I'll also there's a clip of it on my Instagram. But yeah, like, oh, talk about funny. Just talk about like humble, and like Wesley Snipes had on like a silk scarf and sunglasses, and he was talking shit to Mike, and Mike was talking shit back to him, and I'm just sitting there like, damn, these are two legends just really talking shit in front of me. Like, I'm just not sitting there,
And
and
you're
they
not
like,
even
Sidnee, you
there.
know what they like, Sidnee, you know what I mean? I'd be like, yeah, I know what you mean. Like,
So
so
these are press
that was my
junkets.
favorite.
Is that a press junket?
Yes, this was at a press junket. But when you hit a certain point in your career, a certain status, or whatever you want to call it, they give you a lot more time, and it's
All
more
right.
relaxed.
So I had a
Instead of
question
other.
about text. I had a question
Go
about
ahead.
press junkets because I have no idea what they are or how they come about. So I see them, and it was
Okay.
very like I saw a very random one. You know Vic
Mhm.
Cruz.
Yes.
I was watching something the other day, and he popped up
Mhm.
in what I think is a press junket interviewing somebody about this new show, a movie about to come out or something like that. And I was wondering, and then I decided we're going to do this show. I was like, yo, let me ask her this: how does that work? Now, is this a thing where it's like you sitting right across from them, and then it's like a step
Mhm.
and repeat of the movie in between you guys, and it's like you're in like a little
Right.
like one little room, and like so yeah. How does that?
Right.
First of all, how does that come to fruition? What is that?
Yeah. So basically, studios. That's really who's behind press junkets. So you have Warner Brothers, you have Paramount, Netflix, Hulu. Studios and broadcast networks usually set up the press junket. So they have a new movie coming out that they want to promote, or they have a new show coming out that they want to promote. They'll set up a press junket where basically they get the actors and actresses in these new films and in these new series to sit down with the top journalists from around the world a lot of times. So in my early years, it used to be, when you're first getting your start, sometimes it's like a sit down round table where each talent will move from table to table and talk to different journalists. But
Okay.
it would literally be like 5 of us at a table.
Oh wow.
But as you progress on, and I've been blessed enough to do so, you start getting one-on-ones. And these are where you'll get 5 to 10 minutes to sit down with these people, talk to them about the film, talk to them about life, laugh with them, cry with them sometimes. And these press junkets could literally happen all over the world. So far, I've literally been sent everywhere in the country for press junkets. I think my most recent one before coronavirus hits, we were in Tennessee.
Wow.
We were in Memphis, Tennessee, for The Banker, which is a movie with Samuel L. Jackson. It's on Apple Plus TV. But the movie, it's very good. If you guys want to check it out, if you have Apple Plus, it's a very, very good movie. Samuel's funny as shit, and he really
Hilarious.
plays a character. He plays such a character that's kind of close to his real life personality. So I definitely enjoyed that.
Wow.
But they literally will send us. They had this particular press junket because the movie is about the first Black real estate and banking executives. It's a very interesting story. I didn't even know the story, but it's a very interesting story just about how we started to obtain properties and get involved in the banking industry. And it's about these 2 Black guys who started it. And because it had a historical context, they had the press junket at the Memorial Museum where Martin Luther King got shot.
Oh wow.
So in Tennessee. So that was kind of cool for me. So for the journalists, the top journalists that they invite out, they have these experiential productions basically just for the journalists. So like they walked us through this whole museum. They showed us where he got shot and really talked about that. And then we went back to the hotel and they fed us and everything. And then when we came back, time for the press junket, it's this huge activation. And, it's just awesome to see. And I like a lot of the times where they do that. Another example, they sent me to Mexico City. They sent me to London.
Wow.
They've sent my partner to Brazil. They've literally, especially if these movies had either geological or historical context, they'll usually do these press junkets in those areas. So for an example, when I went to Mexico City, they shot, it was for a scary movie. It was for The Nun. I don't know if you saw that, but it was very scary.
I don't like scary movies at all.
Yeah, I don't either. So you can imagine my experience. But a part of this film, they shot in an abandoned convent in the middle of Mexico.
No way you had to go do a press junket in the abandoned convent.
Let me tell you, they had us staying at the St. Regis in downtown Mexico City. It was beautiful. They put us up. We had beautiful rooms. They're like, all right, y'all, we all got to go on this shuttle and go have this experiential activation before you guys do your interviews. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's do this. Didn't really read the details.
See, that's your fault.
Yep, that's my fault. We end up really taking a shuttle about an hour and a half outside of Mexico City, up in the mountains. Your service cut off. It's raining. And here we pull up to this abandoned convent, and they do the premiere of the movie in the catacombs of the convent. So for anyone who doesn't know what catacombs are, it's a place where they used to bury people.
That's crazy. That's insane.
So here they have it. We go in there, and there's crosses upside down, and there's this huge screen, and they have actors and actresses playing these, like, possessed nuns, and it's like Fright Fest. Like, you walk around, and I'm just like, Lord, I had my cross on my chest, and I'm just like, Lord. And I got some holy water because I was not playing. I'm
That's
not playing.
amazing.
But but
That's
again,
amazing.
it had a context to where these production houses and these studios really like to make it a whole experience. And that's probably one of the most enjoyable parts of my job. Aside from speaking to all these amazing people, it's really going through these experiences and really kind of just expanding my palette. And also, I'm a big travel person.
Well, speaking of traveling, I wanted to switch gears. I was
Yes.
going to say I love the fact that what you do, you love doing, but it also has allowed you to see the world. And I was going to speak
Yes.
on you being this amazing traveler. Now, do you pride yourself on that? Is this something that you do on purpose, or it's just like another one of your things?
Yeah, it definitely has been a passion of mine. I've been blessed since early childhood. My parents have traveled with me, and they've kind of instilled the importance of traveling, just because you literally, I feel like I've become more of a well-rounded person because I've been all these places and I've seen how these people live,
I feel
and
the same
I've
way.
embraced them. I've talked to them. I've just been in their element and taken myself out of my element. So I've been blessed to be able to travel. I hope everyone can check out Black Travel Journey on Instagram. My partner, Sidnee Michelle, founded it. I came on as
So you're two Sidnees. You're two Sidnees.
Yes, two Sidnees.
Okay.
Sidnee Danielle and Sidnee Michelle. She founded it, and I loved her platform. And the mission of Black Travel Journey is to diversify the face of normal and international and influencer travel. So what we were seeing was a lot of these brands and even a lot of these countries, the tourism boards and stuff like that, they would sponsor huge influencer trips, and you would own Revolve and so on and so forth, and you would only see a certain demographic of people, usually white,
You'll see white girls.
Yes, usually a certain build, hot
Right.
white girls, let's say that.
Right.
That's all you would see. So Sidnee launched the platform to be able to gain enough traction for us to start doing these trips and diversifying the face of travel. So I loved her mission, and I came on with her. She wanted me to come on, I guess, as the extrovert. She's kind of like an introvert. She's very good with the numbers, with the planning and all that stuff, but I clearly like to talk to people. So I was able to help bring my contacts from the entertainment industry, from the music industries, and really connect them with travel. So 2 years ago, we launched our influencer experiences, and we've literally brought all types of people to all types of places, rappers, artists, literally anyone Black color influencers, literally anyone you can think of. We've taken some rappers down to, let's say, Honduras, where these
Wow.
people have never seen sand and beach and culture outside of Miami.
You know what's
So
crazy about that? So I grew up, east side of Cleveland. I grew up in the hood, and I talk about this all the time. Like I've been blessed. One of the greatest things that I've been able to do is travel the world. I love that God has blessed me with the ability to have been able to travel the world over all of these years and to see, different lands, to see different people, experience different cultures, different foods, and all of that. But I know some guys that grew up with me and just, from the hood, or my hood, or whatever, and from any hood. That make so much money, and been making so much money since we were kids, but have never left the city. And if they do leave the city, it's like no disrespect. I'm not travel shaming, but it's somewhere like Vegas or Miami, and it's like, you have enough money and wherewithal to go see the world. Why not do it?
Right. Exactly. And that's kind of what we really, again, no travel shaming, because I love a good Miami trip, and I love a good Vegas trip.
Shout out to 11. Have you ever been to 11 to have you ever been to 11 to 9 in the morning though? Have you done one of those nights?
I've gotten the breakfast. And
oh my God, it's so good.
It was slamming.
Oh, so
So
good.
no hate to Miami, no hate to Vegas. But again, it goes back to what you were saying. Like, I don't want to say who because I don't want to put him out there. But it's a rapper who was at the time emerging. Now he's definitely on, like, everyone knows his name. But he's from Baltimore, and he had never seen sand or any type of culture besides African American cultures except when he went to Miami. So,
Wow.
there he was able to experience the Spanish culture, the Cuban culture. So when we took him to Honduras, it was a little tough trying to get him to acclimate. Like, okay, let's try this food.
I'm sure he's
let's,
not gonna.
let's
I was about to say, I'm sure he wasn't gonna eat. That's the first
No,
thing.
and no shout out to him because we overcame this. Now my man will
Wow.
eat anything you ask him to, and he really, he
Nice.
really thanked us for really broadening his horizons. But first day, he's like, "Where's the chicken fingers and fries?" I said, "Sir, we are in Honduras. There is no chicken fingers and fries. There might be
Oh my
some
God.
roasted chicken on the side of the road that is amazing, but he's like, nah, I'm not eating nothing but da-da-da. Let me tell you, Steph, by the end of that trip, we had him eating fish. We had him eating cultural dishes.
Oh,
And
nice.
really, it was amazing because, especially in Honduras, there's a part of Honduras that is the Garifuna people. And the Garifuna people, most Hondurans, they're definitely people of color. A lot of them speak Spanish and a lot of them look Spanish, but the Garifuna people are a direct descendant of the slaves
Oh,
from West
wow.
Africa. So it's literally like you're in paradise, and we literally had an excursion where we took everyone to this part of Honduras where it's only Garifuna people. And when I tell you, they look just like us. Like, all types of complexions. A majority of them were darker complected, which it was very surprising to most of the guests that we brought because we were just used to seeing Spanish-looking people and Spanish-speaking people. So there you have these people. There's actually a video on my Instagram you guys should check out. And they're playing the drums, the steel pans.
Wow.
They're having eat the African food. It was just such an amazing experience. I'm like dancing with a little kid. I'm like trying to learn the dances. And eventually said rapper really got up and like embraced the culture. And that's just really like what warmed my heart. And that's by the end of the trip, he's like, yo, like, thank you. Like, I have
That's
a
dope.
totally different outlook on life right now because of y'all. Like, I want to go everywhere. So that's kind of like why we do what we do. And it's become a big passion of mine. And even now, in a time, and we're in quarantine, we had so much trips planned upcoming for the summer, for fall. But of course, we can't travel right now.
All
So
right.
it was
Sucks.
a
Totally
big,
sucks.
yeah, it was a huge bummer for me. And I got kind of in my feelings and depressed and, because things weren't moving. But my partner and I came up with our new Instagram live show, which is called Around the World with Black Travel Journey. And it's
Much,
basically a
much
virtual.
better. By the way, much better name than African American Club.
Listen, I told you that wasn't by choice. But yeah, you guys definitely go check it out. It's called Around the World with Black Travel Journey. I'm the host, and we basically interview celebrities, influencers, and travel gurus, all from their respective states. So, for an example, our first kickoff episode was with the iconic actress Cheryl Lee Ralph, who you guys
Oh,
know her
wow.
from Moesha, the mom from Moesha. Yeah,
Love her.
literally love her. Criminal Minds, Cinderella, everyone knows her, and her daughter. And they were repping Jamaica, so they told us everything we needed to know about Jamaica. Following that, we had Young Paris, who's a dope recording artist, who his father actually started the Ballet of the Congo, and he's from the Congo, so he spoke about the Congo. And then we had Nigel Sylvester on. I think you
Shout
know
out to
Nigel.
Nigel. Yeah, shout out to my guy
Shout out
Nigel.
to Nigel. First pro BMX athlete to make the Forbes 30 under 30 list. He's also from Grenada. and he talked about his experience to travel to Grenada. So it's kind of a way for us to still travel, but we do it virtually, and it's kind of a way for me to, keep my game up, keep my interview skills tight, but also talk to these people about their experiences, and it's like a virtual tour guide. So when we can hop on the plane and go somewhere, y'all know where to stay, y'all know what to eat, y'all know what to do, and y'all are getting it straight from the horse's mouth. So,
and once again, that's black. That's black. What is it called? The IG.
The Instagram.
Black.
Yeah, the IG is Black Travel Journey, one word. And our show is called Around the World with Black Travel Journey every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
All right, so everyone, make sure you check out that. Now, I want you guys to, and I'm going to check it out, of course. I want everyone to check out Black Travel Journey. But I want you to give me a couple travel do's and don'ts, just for anyone that may not be as acclimated to traveling as, you and I. So what are some of your travel do's and don'ts? First do's. What are give me 3 travel do's.
Okay. My travel do's is, 1 would be do your research. Do your research outside of having a resort experience. Now, I'm a lover of nice things. So when I travel,
yes,
I love to stay in the resort. However, that'll literally just be my home base.
Right.
So what we do, you guys definitely need to go out and see everything outside of the resort, because that's a lot of the times where you get the culture and you get the experience and you get to learn. But you can't be naive American and going to do that. So that's why I say,
watch out in Brazil.
Right. Do your research. Find out a good tour guide, a good tour company. You don't want to just go with my man's on the side of the road who said he'll take you around. That's not what you want to do. You want to find a good tour company, a good tour guide, maybe talk to someone who's from there, who has family there, that could really help you get that off the resort experience. So I would say
that's
I
one.
guess that's 2. So it's 2. So do your research.
Okay.
And do go off the resort.
Okay. And what's your third one?
The research.
Give me one more do.
And then
Excuse me.
I mean, just the normal things. Just be cautious. It's like in America, if you're wearing a gold chain, iced out gold chain, and you walking around, even in the hoodest of hoods, it's maybe a 5 to 10%. It's more normal. You'll see more of it, and it's maybe a 5 to 10% chance that you may get your chain snatched. Now, when you travel to a third world country, you don't want to do that. And again,
what's the percentage? Give me a percentage.
Nice
give me a percentage of chain snatching in the third world country as opposed to here.
It's like 65 and over. Only because not to say that they're bad people or anything like that. But you guys think this is a third world country, so as risk as snatching your chain may be, that can feed their families for months. For months. And
like what's like a 75 gram 14 karat gold chain, like
right. Yeah. And even me, like
by the way, that was a joke. That was a joke. You didn't get it, did you? You didn't.
I didn't.
Have you seen Black AF yet? You haven't seen it.
Oh yes. Okay, I get it.
Now you get on. It's not good if I gotta tell you where to get it. God, you were supposed to know that.
I was thinking about that. But yeah, like when my man, he had to jump in the ocean to save his wife. I take out all the chains. Just leave that stuff at home. Again, I'm a lover of nice things, so I have pendants, iced out diamond pendants, that will go on my chain. However, if I'm
we know you get money. We know you get money. You ain't gotta do all of that. All right, jeez.
No. I'm just saying. My iced out. I don't mean like the big ones. I mean like the tiny ones, like the tiny cross.
I'm just messing with you.
My tiny earrings to match. But in a third world country, I may just wear the chain. I may take the diamond pendants off. I'm not saying that if you can't wear any jewelry, like unless you're in like the slums of like Haiti or something like that. And I can say that because my father's Haitian and I've seen it. But unless you're in like a horrible war-torn, war-ridden area, you can wear your gold, your small gold chain. Would I suggest wearing the diamond pendant with that and the diamond earring? No. I love nice things, but I'm gonna take the pendant off. I'm gonna just go with my small light gold chain because I like to wear jewelry. However, it's just being smart. Just be smart. I'll wrap that up. That's my last do. Be smart.
That do is be smart, which can also be a don't. So don't wear the gaudy stuff. So give me 2 more don'ts when traveling. 2 more don'ts.
Okay. Don't be offended by people who stare or may have never
I like that.
Experienced seeing a person. Because again, when I traveled, to Asian countries, some of the people that we've traveled with are maybe, let's say, like 6'4", just normal guys. They could be rappers or artists or athletes or whatever, but they're not basketball players. They're not even 6'4", like 6'1". But to people in Asia and Thailand and Singapore who have never seen these type of people except for on TV, they're like, basketball, like they're definitely. They almost treat you like, I don't know how many times I got called Rihanna. And it's like, as amazing as a compliment that is, I was like, hey, y'all, Rihanna, I'm Rihanna, yeah. But I didn't take an offense to it. Again, it's like, they see a darker complected tall person and they call him Michael Jordan. So don't take offense to that. Because, again, it's just people they've never seen, someone who looks like us just walking around leisurely. If anyone, they've seen it on their TVs or they're seeing, they'll go to the government buildings or whatever, and it'll be like that. So don't take offense to small infractions of just ignorance. And it's not negative ignorance. It's just ignorance.
Pure ignorance, yeah.
When I went to Europe, Santorini, to be specific, and Santorini is it's very liberal. They have all different types of people there, but
I love Santorini.
One guy was fascinated with my box braids, and the person I was with at the time, he was just looking at him, almost taking offense for me.
So this is a vacation, is what you're telling me. This sounds like a vacation.
Yeah, this is a vacation. This is a vacation. Still,
no, I said vacation.
No, it wasn't a vacation.
It was. You legit tried to sneak a Santorini Greece trip in like it was just with somebody, like it was just no. That's a vacation. It is. Unless you live in Egypt or you live in Greece, somewhere close to it. It's a vacation. You came from New York.
We can call it what it is, but we're not gonna get into
All right. So your box braids.
So this person was fascinated with my braids, and at the time I had the really thin, long ones, so they almost looked like hair. I had the curls incorporated. It was real cute.
Poppin'.
He was just so fascinated with them, and he's just asking me. He doesn't really speak English, but he's trying to ask me what I believe. He was trying to ask me, 1, if that was my real hair, 2, if it's not, what was it made of, and he kept on referring to a rat's tail. Now, now I could have caught offense to it, but I know he wasn't trying to be offensive because he had his wife. This was probably a couple in their mid to late 50s. He had his Speedo on, and they just look like an average European white couple. And he's over here calling his wife over, asking if she can get those in her hair as well. And I'm just like, you know what? That's when I knew it wasn't offensive. But the guy I was with at the time was ready to knock his head off because he thought he was being offensive. There was a point that he actually went to go grab
touch your hair. Oh God, I knew you were gonna say that.
And I'm just like, I did get offended, but again, I travel so much, I know I can tell the difference between racism and them just not knowing.
Right.
So I'm very good at picking up those undertones. So, and I knew that he wasn't trying to be offensive because he was asking, he was saying, like, my wife, I want on her. Like, I want them on her. Like, so nice. So.
And the guy that you were with he was rightfully so get mad. I mean, the guy, he was interrupting his vacation. The man's trying to have a vacation in Santorini. He got his babe with him. He's trying to have
bar, but it's okay. He was just fascinated, and you know what?
Let me stop.
The person I was with at the time is from Southeast DC, so they don't play that. And
okay.
He was just like, "What the F are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like,
one last don't."
It's okay. Like, he's just very intrigued, and he's very like, he's never seen braids like these before that I guess look so natural, but they're not my hair. Yeah. Again, try it. My don't take automatic offense. Now, there are going to be times that you're going to run into some sort of racism. I've definitely run into that in my travels to London and things like that. But don't automatically take offense when it comes to foreigners. Because
no, you know what I've seen?
They're just ignorant.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but what I've experienced is every time I go to Paris, the Africans look at me crazy, like they want to rob me.
Yeah.
Africans. I'm like, yo, I'm looking at y'all like we're people. They're looking at me like, nah, you're not like us.
Nah, they don't like Americans. They do not like Americans.
I was literally like, there's been times where I've been like, yo, by the Eiffel Tower, and I'm like, yo, I might have to fight. Like, why are y'all staring at me like this? Like, I thought we were good.
Yeah. So I think that would lead me to my next don't. Don't be outrightedly vulnerable. And this goes back to the whole chain and jewelry thing, but it also goes further than that because it kind of goes back to the do your research. When you get to these foreign countries, as soon as you touch down, you need to know where you're going. You need to know who your ride is going to be. You need to know every type to get you to point A to point B, because people run into trouble when they look vulnerable. So if you get touch down, let's say Young Paris, he's a Rock Nation artist. He was just talking, he's from the Congo. He was like, yo, if you travel to the Congo, it's a beautiful place, but they can be grimy. You need to know where you're going, who you're going with. Literally, when you're waiting for your bags, call them, have them waiting outside. Just don't let yourself look too vulnerable, because that leads to people thinking they could run up on you, people thinking they could rob you, people thinking they could hustle you, a $20 taxi. Some people will try and charge you $60. So definitely it goes back. Don't look too vulnerable, and you can not do that by doing your research and just having your travel plans in order.
And you know what? I'm excited to see you guys' travel show now. Now, would you ever, my last travel question before we get up out of here, would you ever, and I'm actually following a young lady, African-American young lady. She might be African, actually. She's black. Let's just say black woman that I'm following on IG. She has this whole thing about black women and traveling alone. Would you ever travel to a foreign place alone?
Yeah, so that's one of the topics that we cover on our show as well. We like to ask all of our guests what their opinions are on traveling alone and then traveling alone as a woman. And for me, I've traveled alone. I went to Mexico City for the press junket. I mean, I was with other journalists once I got there. But it's really, again, doing your research. Like, there's some countries that have high rates of women trafficking, women sex trafficking, and things like that, that I necessarily wouldn't suggest traveling alone unless, again, you have something that Young Paris mentioned, Like when you go to the Congo, like if you look vulnerable, if you look like you don't know what you're doing, they'll try
Right.
it. Like they'll try
Right.
and get you to come in a certain car, or get you to take a certain route, and even in places like Ghana and Nigeria, which are very progressive African countries, but they have, those kids on the side of the road will try and hustle you. And if you're a woman, there's certain times, especially at night, that you might not want to go out by yourself if you are traveling by yourself. But I always try and say, if you want to travel by yourself as a woman, or just a man, woman, or whatever, just do your research to have your ducks in a row, because that really will help you in your experience. Now, as a woman, I don't suggest traveling alone unless you know someone there,
Right.
or you have some sort of contact there, being like you're there for a reason.
Do you watch the 20s on BET?
I started watching that. I did start watching that.
Did you see the last episode last Wednesday? She traveled to Paris.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, check that episode out. I wish I could ask you, have you ever had experience like that? But once you
I'll
see the episode,
check that out.
once you see the episode, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. But I mean, Europe can be tricky too, but Europe, not so much. I know people who have traveled there by themselves. I actually went to London by myself, technically, for a press junket. But again, it's having my ducks in order. I had my driver ready there waiting for me.
So
I
fancy.
checked in to my hotel during the daytime. It's just planning out your schedule so you don't run into too much risk. But I always say, I try not to advise people not to travel. Like, if you want to travel solo, but don't just hop up and go anywhere without planning, without execution and things like that, because that'll leave you in a really risky situation that you don't want to be in.
Poor planning always leads to bad situations. Yo, Sid,
Yeah.
thank you so much. This is great. Like, I'm really glad we figured this out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm gonna probably do? I mean, we're still rolling on the podcast, but I think I want to do something on my IG live with you tomorrow, so we can talk about this before we drop it. So we'll be on IG live, and then we'll drop this after the live, and we can go over a couple of things that we did. But once again, Sidnee, my amazing friend, celebrity journalist, celebrity reporter. Make sure you guys follow her on Instagram at Sid, SID, Mitch, MICH _. Is that your same on Twitter as well, or just?
Yeah, same on Twitter.
SID, MICH _. And anything you want to let us know that you have coming up, in the works on your, especially with your newfound solo endeavor. And what word didn't you like? Freelancing? In your works by yourself, for yourself. Anything that we should be looking out for?
Definitely, you guys just check out Around the World with Black Travel Journey. It's my new baby. It's kind of my creative outlet during this quarantine time. It's not exactly quarantine radio, but it's a great platform for people who are really itching to travel. And as soon as we can, it's literally like live tour guides. And it's not Yelp, it's not Travel Advisor. It's really live tour guides from your favorite influencers, celebrities, and travel gurus. And then what we'll do is bring these interviews that we do, we bring them to life. So once it's time for us to travel, Miss Cheryl Lee Ralph is going to take us through all these places in Jamaica that she told us about. Nigel's going to take us through all these places in Grenada that he told about. So definitely check that out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2 p.m. on Black Travel Journeys Instagram. It's spelled like it sounds. And yeah, once society returns to normal, I'll be back in the entertainment interview space, and hopefully I get to I have a thing I call bucket list interviews, where I have like a set of people that I would love to interview, and I've been blessed this far to check a couple people like Eddie Murphy, like 50 Cent, like The Rock, like Mike Epps, and Octavia Spencer, the Taraji, like the list goes on. So I've been blessed to check those people off my bucket list. So hopefully, once things return to normal, we will be able to. I'll continue that journey, and I hope you guys can follow me on that.
This is amazing. I'm actually on Black Travel Journey right now. This is
okay.
This is beautiful. Oh my God! All of these beautiful black people and this beautiful scenery.
Diversifying the way people see travel. So that's our goal with the house.
Where's Mac Woods at right now? Or Carnival Tips? Okay, shout out to my guy Mac. Oh, he was in Antigua. Yo, shout out to Mac.
We took him to Antigua. He had a great time. We had a great time. We took him and Tatiana, who was America's Next Top Model. Had a great time with Mac. Shout out to Mac. That's my brother. And Steph, we got to get you on one of these trips, man.
That's what I'm talking about. I can't wait till we get back to being able to travel. Yo, Sid, love you so much. Sir. This was great. And I'm gonna we're gonna do our IG live thing tomorrow. We're gonna figure that out off of this call though, okay?
All right, that's the best. Steph, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be a friend and friend of everything that you do. You know, I'm always supporting, always watching, and always proud. So keep doing your thing, and we'll get to it. We'll set up a trip, and we'll take our trip, and we'll really do some things once everything gets back to normal. So I'm excited.
Maybe Black Travel Journey can make a trip to. Does Cleveland count or no?
Yeah, it does. And actually,
I'm just playing.
And actually, it's funny. No, I'm dead serious. It's funny enough. There's going to be a week now that we've been extended for coronavirus. We're going to do a week where we do U.S. travel. So I had you on my list. Yeah, I actually had you on my list for Cleveland, and we'll get like Miss Diddy for Cali and Nessa on air for New York. Yeah, it's gonna be cool. We're gonna do because we have a lot of international followers on our platform on Black Travel Journey. So I was just like, we always talk about these international countries, but it would be dope to kind of someone, there's definitely a big travel market within the United States. So we don't
travel shame.
All that. Yeah,
we don't travel shame. All right, I'm going to talk to you later. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, Steph. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.